Hello, this is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com, and today we're going to look at a beltless carry option from Leisure Carry. Did you know that we offer online training courses? Everything from basic fundamentals to use of a firearm. Whether you're new to shooting or have background and experience, there's always something valuable for you. Check out the link in the description or the pinned comment for more information. So if you're someone who likes wearing sweatpants or shorts, there are somewhat limited options in regards to how you're able to actually carry a firearm. Now, with the options that are actually available, there are a few drawbacks, in my opinion, that make them a little bit risky for what I use. For example, there's a very popular option called an ulti-clip, where it pretty much attaches directly to the material of, let's say, your shorts. And although it does work and it retains the gun to be kept in place, the problem is that since there isn't actually something more rigid retaining it in that spot, it ends up being somewhat floppy in regards to your holster, which is obviously something you want to be very careful about. Not just being careful about in regards to safety, but in consistency of your draw. So the issue is that if you have a one point of contact and it's just that ulti-clip that's attached to loose material, then the holster might wiggle a little bit, and the consistency of how you actually expect or where you expect the gun to be might not actually be where you want it to be. So that's just something to be able to take into account. Now, what Leisure Carry did is they came out with the system where it's pretty much a rigid belt that has two ulti-clips on both sides. So it does use the ulti-clip system, but it has, first of all, 2 points of contact, as well as a rigid, stable platform for everything to be attached to. Now, part of that also is, instead of it being just the holster with the ulti-clip attached to your like shorts or pair of sweatpants, it has that this is going to be what attaches to your pants. The ulti-clips are going to be attached to your pants itself, and then in the center line, you use your standard holster that will actually clip to that. So now the value is that it's actually being set up on a different platform almost, as opposed to just the pant line itself. So the way it works is actually quite simple. What it does is that you take these two ends, you slip it into either a pair of pants or a pair of shorts that uses a drawstring. You don't really need to use a drawstring. I've tested it without it, but I believe that is what they recommend. And then once you have that down, you tighten your drawstring to the point of comfort. You make sure to lock down both sides of the ulti-clip. You then take your holster of choice and you mount it to the center of the actual belt line, and then you have this going to be on the inside of your waistline without it being an issue. It actually holds quite rigid. Now, they do have a few different sizes available. The two that I have in front of me is the 9.5 and the 11.5 inch. Now, what the 9.5 inch is, in my opinion, is going to be an option that if you like carrying just the holster itself, but not with a spare magazine. So this is a option that has both the firearm and the spare magazine attached to it. If you're just the person that likes to have just the firearm and you like to have the spare magazine in a different location or mounted a different way, then I believe the 9.5 might be the route you want to take. It's shorter, it's smaller, and it does work with being able to just use just the firearm itself. If you like being able to have the spare magazine attached to it, so something like this, then I would probably say to go with the 11.5 inch option, because it gives it more space in the center line of your body to be able to work well for it. Now, there are a few other little design aspects that you should be able to be aware of that they actually put a lot of thought into to make sure that it works well. Since this belt is quite rigid, an issue that could come up is that the ends of the belt would be able to kind of protrude and stick into your body, and it'd be kind of annoying and painful to be able to deal with. And then especially once you have a drawstring that kind of tightens it up towards your body, that would only kind of make that situation worse. So what they did is at the edges of both sides of these options, you could see how there's a curve that bends up and out away from your body, so that the edges don't cut into your body, as well as also being the round portions of it. All these surrounded portions are actually polished, so it's going to be a smooth surface when it's contacting your body, and it makes it, again, it's kind of like a small thought process of what they thought of to make it work really well for you. I do believe they're actually even coming out with more rigid options than these, even though these work great, but they're constantly innovating and figuring out different ways to be able to make it work best for you. Now, in the back behind the ulti-clip, another aspect, again, of making sure that they realize you're comfortable is that if the ulti-clip itself was the only thing sticking to your body, then the rear portion of that clip is going to, again, dig into your body and not be very comfortable. So what they did is they added a piece of leather that sticks where the soft portion of the leather is going to be touching and contacting your body, and then the other portion of it is going to be tucked behind the ulti-clip. So again, there isn't any contact pushing against your body to make it uncomfortable to be able to wear. Another thing I did with this is I also realized for pants that have, whether they have drawstrings or not, you can kind of pull the pant line in towards the center of your body and then clip it. And then again, it kind of works as a belt in general. So even if you're not going to be carrying a gun, but you do have a lot of gear that you carry with you, this could still be a good option, because for me, I'd always rather be carrying with a belt. I always want to be able to have a belt. Just again, if you're carrying medical equipment or just your regular EDC, that is stuff that could be very heavy. So what firearms aspect aside, if you have a pair of pants or a pair of shorts that you want to have a little bit more stability to, and for most of us, and at least in my opinion, the drawstring really isn't enough and it doesn't really hold as well as I'd want it to be, this could be an option that you're able to use as a replacement for that to still be able to give you some rigidity in the platform. Another few things to mention is that there are a few holes here on both sides that you're able to choose from. So whether you want the belt to be closer in or closer out, that could be something you could choose. What I've noticed for myself and for a lot of people, from what I've seen, most people are not going to carry at the exact 12 o'clock position. It's usually going to be around the 1 o'clock or the 11 o'clock, depending on your preference. So you will be able to just move it off to the side and then have that center line a little offset and then have the gun mounted there as well. So I think this is a very simple system that works really well. Again, there are two different options depending on the purpose of use that you have. And again, since it works in the aspect of it being not a direct mount to your pants or your shorts itself, it's using it kind of as a separate platform that just links up with the system that you already have running. I feel like it's a much smarter way to be able to carry and keep it a little bit more rigid depending on your purpose of use. The one thing I'd want to be able to keep in mind is that if you're going to have a dual system, something like this, I've felt that this worked a lot better. The reason why it worked a lot better is that for the 9.5-inch option, there's a little bit of wiggle because this is not a 1.5-inch option. Right over here, the center line is not 1.5 inches. It's just a little bit shorter. So what I've noticed for myself is that if you have a single clip, there could be a little bit of wiggle. So I'd recommend that even if you're going to carry just the firearm itself, I'd want 2 mounting points of contact. Generally speaking, that's the way I carry anyway. I want there to be at least 2 clips on the system, whether you're wearing a belt that's 1.5 or not. So if you're going to be able to mount it, I'd prefer to have 2 clips so it reduces the amount of side-to-side wiggle that you might have with your holster. So again, if you're going to have a magazine and a firearm itself, this worked really well with the 11.5-inch option because it really gave it a proper mounting platform. But I just feel like that might be something worth mentioning when it comes to being able to use this carry for everyday use. So if you have any questions on this, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. This is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com. Thank you for watching.